Hello my dear children, you are welcome to Eden English, and today we are going to start with lesson number 6, my childhood, and this is the autobiography or the part of the autobiography of A.P.J Abdul Kalam. So do you know who is A.P.J Abdul Kalam? A.P.J Abdul Kalam was the President of India. So can you name any particular president who was also a scientist? Certainly. One Indian, that is A.P.J Abdul Kalam, who was a scientist as well as a statesman or a politician who became the president, was certainly A.P.J Abdul Kalam, and it will be quite interesting to learn about A.P.J Abdul Kalam, particularly his childhood period where he was having a lot of influences, shaping influences, his brother, his sister, his father, his mother, his friends and relatives, all these had a shaping influence on him. Let us continue now. Can you think of any scientist who have also been statesman? A.P.J Abdul Kalam, whose project in space, defense and nuclear technology guided India into the 21st century, became our 11th president in 2002. So A.P.J Abdul Kalam, so he was a new star, a pole star in India, who guided India, who guided particularly in the defense sector, in the nuclear technology, and brought into the front India's position in the world, and he became the 11th president of India in 2002. In his autobiography Wings of Fire, he speaks of his childhood. So his childhood is delineated beautifully in the Wings of Fire, which is his autobiography. Then let us continue and see. Let us start with the first paragraph now. So here we start. I was born into a middle class Tamil family in the island town of Rameswaram in the erstwhile Madras state. So he was born into the middle class Tamil family. He was from southern part of India, and it was the former, erstwhile means former, F-O-R-M-E-R, former Madras state. He was born into the former Madras state. My father Jainuddin had neither much formal education nor much wealth. Despite these disadvantages, he possessed a great inner wisdom and a true generosity of spirit. Generosity of spirit. Now we are talking about his father, how the father had the influence, the shaping influence on A.P.J Abdul Kalam. So the first thing that we need to know about Jainuddin, the father of A.P.J Abdul Kalam, is that he did not have much formal education. By formal education, we mean the education that we get in the school. That means he did not have much of the formal education, and he also did not have much money. He was not also very rich. And in spite of or besides these disadvantages or drawbacks, he possessed two great qualities. One is innate wisdom. Innate means natural. Innate means very natural. N-A-T-U-R-L, natural. Means inborn. And he also had another quality, that is the true generosity. Generosity means what? Generosity means the largeness of heart. Largeness of heart. That means his father had two qualities. Number one quality is that he had wisdom. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. Knowledge, KNOLEDGE, knowledge. That means he had the practical knowledge or wisdom, and he was by nature very large-hearted. He was very large-hearted person. He had an ideal helpmate in my mother. Ideal helpmate in my mother, Ashiamma. Ashiamma was the mother of A.P.J Abdul Kalam, and the father Jainuddin found a very real or ideal helpmate in the mother of A.P.J Abdul Kalam, that is Ashiamma. Means Ashiamma also was a great helper, helper of Jainal Abdin, in order to shape or mold, in order to make A.P.J Abdul Kalam. I do not recall the exact number of people she fed every day, but I am quite certain that far more outsiders ate with us than all the members of our family put together. So we will see one example of the largeness of the heart or the generosity. The quality of the host. The mother was a great lover of human being, and therefore every day he could not exactly recall how many people actually took a food in their house, but he can simply guess that those people, those number of people who, those outsiders who took the food with their family were more than the family members of their own family put together. Then let us continue. Here we go. Paragraph number 2. I was one of many children, a short boy with a rather undistinguished look. Undistinguished look means his look was not so distinguished. Born to tall and handsome parents. Tall and handsome parents. Let us see. A.P.J Abdul Kalam admits that as a boy he was not so handsome, or he was not very tall and stout or very strong. His parents were very tall and very handsome too, but he was not neither tall nor handsome. He was a short fellow. We lived in our ancestral house, which was built into the middle of the 19th century. So he lived into the ancestral house, which was built into the middle of the 19th century. It was in the middle part of the 19th century that his parental house was built. It was a fairly large pucca house made of limestones and bricks on the mosque street in Rameswaram. That means this is the particular place, this is the particular area where he was born. The area or the village was Rameswaram, and it was in the mosque street, okay, in the street where there was the mosque of Rameswaram. Here we find the family building of A.P.J Abdul Kalam, which was a fairly large house, Pakka house made up of limestone and brick. My austere father used to avoid all the inessential comfort and luxuries. So the father was very much austere. Austere means strict. Okay, austere means strict and very severe, particularly in following the rules and rituals. The parents were very much strict follower of the rules and regulation, and therefore, as far as possible, they avoided all the inessential comfort, all the comfort that were not necessary, and all the luxury that were supposed to be avoided. However, all the necessities were provided for in terms of food, medicine, and cloth. Even though the father was very much austere or strict, even though he avoided all the inessential comfort and luxuries, yet the basic need or the prime need of the house, including the food, medicine, and cloth, all these things were provided beautifully or suitably by the parents. In fact, I would say mine was a very secure childhood, both materially and emotionally. My dear children, you will see when he was a child, financially speaking, his childhood was very secure, and as far as the security that is needed during the childhood was also established or was also there. Therefore, his childhood was very secure. Secure means safe. Secure means safe. His childhood was safe either materially means as far as material concern like the food, cloth, and building, and emotionally like what are the kind of the support that is needed from the parent, the love, care, concern, all these things were there in the life of A.P.J Abdul Kalam, and therefore this childhood, this remarkable childhood was was the particular thing that contributed to his future life. Then let us continue. Let us go to the next part. Here we go. Let us see paragraph number 3. The Second World War broke out in 1939 when I was 8 years old. For reasons I've never been able to understand, a sudden demand for permanent seat erupted in the market. I used to collect the seat and sell them to provision shop on most street. Therefore, it was the time of the Second World War. It was the time of the Second World War. And during that time, so A.P.J Abdul Kalam did not know what were the reason for which there was sudden demand of the tamarind. Sudden demand of the tamarind. Therefore, for reason I have never been able to understand, a sudden demand for tamarind seed erupted into the market. Into the market, there was sudden demand. All of a sudden, there was a demand for the tamarind seed. I used to collect the seed and sell them to a provision shop on Moss Street. So what A.P.J Abdul Kalam did, he used to collect the seeds of the tamarind and sold them into the provision shop in the Mock Street. This collection would fetch me the princely sum of one anna, princely sum. So the day's earning or the day's collection would bring him a handsome amount of 1 anna. 1 anna. 16 anna, 16 anna is equal to 1 rupee. Therefore, 1/16 of rupees was the earning of A.P.J Abdul Kalam, and therefore it was a good sum or good amount for A.P.J Abdul Kalam's day's earning. My brother-in-law Jalaluddin would tell me stories about the war which out later attempted to trace into the headlines in Dinamani. So Dinamani is the newspaper. So in the Dinamani, he could find or he could search out the headline of the Second World War that was going on at the time. And he learnt about those stories of the Second World War from his brother-in-law, and his name was Jalaluddin. The name of the brother-in-law was Jalaluddin, and from him he learned the stories about the Second World War. And later on, when he was going through the newspaper Dinamani, he could find out the headline dealing with the happenings of the Second World War. That means A.P.J Abdul Kalam was a iconic figure or a historic figure. So it was during his childhood that the Second World War happened. Second World War occurred. Then let us continue. Our area being isolated was completely unaffected by the war. So isolated means alienated, means separated, as is separated. So as it was an island, Rameswaram was an island, it was actually separated from the mainland, and therefore the impact of it was less. Unaffected means not impacted or not influenced by the World War II. But soon India was forced to join the Allied forces, and something like a state of emergency was declared. Now in this part, let us remember the story of the Second World War. So the Britishers actually give the assurance that if they join the Allied forces of America and England, then after the World War II, they will be given the freedom. So that was the assurance, and on the basis of the assurance, India was forced to join the Allied forces. And because of that, a state of emergency was declared. So the thing now we call 144. 144 is declared, means emergency is declared. During the time of the emergency, the fundamental right of the people are compromised. The first casualty came into the form of the suspension of the train halt at Rameswaram station. First casualty means the first impact. So normally this word casualty means death. But here the first mishap or accident. First impact of the state of emergency was that the train halt of the train at Rameswaram was stopped. See, the first casualty came in the form of the suspension of the train halt at Rameswaram. Means earlier at Rameswaram station the train stopped, and now it is suspended. Now it never stopped. The newspaper now had to be bundled and thrown out from the moving train on Rameshwaram Road between Rameshwaram and Dhanushketi. As the stoppage was suspended or stopped for the time being, therefore a kind of new urgency or new need was felt. Now the newspaper was thrown from the train. From where? From that particular place between Rameswaram and Dhanushketi. When this newspaper was thrown, somebody was supposed to carry it and then distribute it to the houses. Means working as being the newspaper boy. That forced my cousin Samshuddin, who distributed the newspaper in Rameswaram, to look for a helping hand to catch the bundle, and as if naturally I fill the slot. I fill the slot. Slot here means the vacancy. Vacancy. So what is the vacancy? So the vacancy was that somebody will be helping to catch the bundles, the bundles of the newspaper, and this work will be done in favor of Samsuddin. Therefore, naturally, what happened? It was the president, that is the child president A.P.J Abdul Kalam. So he took up the responsibility. He filled up the vacancy of helping to the brother or the cousin Samsuddin to carry or catch the bundle. Half a century later, I can still feel the surge of the pride in earning my own money. So half a century later, means after 50 years also, he could still feel the surge of the pride in earning his own money for the first time. So your the first earning is always a very proud moment, and that was also felt by A.P.J Abdul Kalam. So when he was working as a helper of Samsuddin in order to catch the paper and carry them, then he got the wage or earning, and that first earning gave the pride, huge pride in him, and he still remembers that. Then let us continue. Paragraph number 4th now. Every child is born with some inherited characteristics into a specific socio-economic and emotional environment and trained in certain ways by figures of authority. Let us see this part. When a child is born, then he acquires some quality. So he acquires some quality and he inherits some quality. So this quality that were inherited were the qualities from the parents, from the father or the mother, and some of the qualities he acquired it from the environment, from the father, mother, from the upbringing, and from the particular place where he was born. Therefore, here also we will see A.P.J Abdul Kalam also got some inherited characteristics, and he was also born in a socio-economic and emotional background, and he was trained in a certain way by the figures of authority, means by the parents. I inherited honesty and self-discipline. So it is said that self-discipline is the best discipline, and honesty is the best policy. And these are two pristine quality, pure quality, honesty and self-discipline. All these qualities were inherited from the parents. From my mother I inherited faith in goodness and deep kindness, and so did my three brothers and sister. So from the mother he inherited, or he got the quality of the faith in goodness. Faith in goodness means that you are good, you have the faith in it. That means being good, this particular concept, this particular quality was inherited from the mother, and the largeness of the heart or the kindness was also inherited from the mother. And it is not only A.P.J Abdul Kalam but his all the three brothers and sister, all of them acquired this quality, means they were equally kind, they were equally good, like A.P.J Abdul Kalam. I had three close friends in my childhood: Ramananda Sastri, Aravinda and Shiva Prakashan. My dear children, it is said that a man is known by the company he keeps. That means the company or the friend has a shaping influence, like the father, the mother, or other family members, like the sibling. In the similar manner, here also we can notice that the friends also, the companion also had a shaping influence, and that was also the case with A.P.J Abdul Kalam also. Here three friends named Ramananda Sastri number 1, Arabindan number 2, and Shiva Prakashan number 3. All these boys were from Orthodox Hindu Brahmin families. So why is mentioning here this Orthodox Hindu family? Because he was a Muslim, therefore he could beautifully mingle with those friends who actually belonged to two very orthodox Hindu Brahmin families. As a children, none of us ever felt any difference amongst ourselves because of our religious differences and upbringing. Now A.P.J Abdul Kalam remembers that in his surrounding or in his environment, he was brought up with a cosmopolitan society where his friends were the main friends, the close or the bosom friends were all from the Orthodox Hindu Brahmin families, and they never felt the difference of their upbringing and difference of their religion. In fact, Ramananda Sastri was the son of Paksi Lakshmana Sastri, the high priest of Rameswaram temple. So his first friend number 1, Ramananda Sastri, he was the son of the priest. The name of the priest of Rameswaram temple was Paksi Lakshmana Sastri, and Ramananda was the son of this priest. Later on, we can notice that Ramananda became the priest of the same Rameswaram temple. Then let us proceed. Here we go. In fact, Ramananda Sastri was the son of Paksi Lakshmana Sastri, the high priest of the Rameswaram temple. Later, he took over the priesthood of Rameswaram temple from his father. So it was Ramanathan. Ramanathan took the charge of the priesthood from his father, when the father was no more. Then let us continue. Our family used to arrange a boat for carrying idols of the Lord from temple to the marriage site. So, in order to show the unity, in order to show the national integration, this example is enough to show that even though A.P.J Abdul Kalam was from a Orthodox Muslim family, yet his father, his family used to arrange the boat for carrying the idol of the Lord from the temple of Rameswaram to the site of the marriage. So in this way, they forgot about the difference of their upbringing and their religion, and when there was any kind of religious ceremony or religious festival, without remembering or just by forgetting all the differences, they celebrated it together. Aravinda went into the business of arranging transport for visiting pilgrims, and Shiva Prakashan became a catering contractor for the Southern Railway. So his friend number two, it says friend number two is Aravindan. He went to the business of arranging the transport for visiting pilgrims because Rameswaram was a pilgrimage site, and he arranged the transport for the pilgrims or the tourist. And his third friend Shiva Prakashan did what? He was a catering assistant. He was a caterer or CA for the Southern Railways. Then let us see paragraph number next paragraph here. During the annual Sri Sita Rama Kalyanam ceremony, our family used to arrange a boat with a special platform for carrying idols of the Lord from the temple to the marriage site, situated in the middle of the pond called Rama Tirtha, which was near our house. So there was an festival, annual festival, and the festival name was Sri Sita Rama Kalyanam ceremony. And in this ceremony, we can see that the parents of A.P.J Abdul Kalam, they contributed to this ceremony, or they, without remembering this differences, they contributed to this ceremony just by joining it, and particularly arranging the boat with a special platform in order to carry the idols of the Lord from the site of the temple to the marriage site. So in this particular ceremony, Sri Sita Rama Kalyanam, this is a marriage ceremony particularly, and during this ceremony, the idol of the Lord was taken from the temple to the marriage site, and for this boat was to be arranged, and it was the family of A.P.J Abdul Kalam who arranged this boat on this occasion. Situated in the middle of the pond called Rama Tirtha, which was near our house. So this is a marriage site. Marriage site is called Ramatirtha, and Ramatirtha was just near the house of A.P.J Abdul Kalam, and therefore the family of A.P.J Abdul Kalam arranged the boat to take the statue or the idol of Lord from the temple site to the site of the marriage or Rama Tirtha. Events from the Ramayana and from the life of the prophet were the bedtime stories my mother and grandmother would tell the children in our family. My dear children, you see, in order to make the children cosmopolitan in their outlook, what are the role of the parents and the grandparents? We can understand from A.P.J Abdul Kalam's life. So when it was the bedtime, the stories were told either by the mother or the grandmother, and the stories included the stories of Prophet Muhammad and the stories from Ramayana. All these stories are from Ramayana and the stories from the Prophet Muhammad were told by the mother and grandmother when the children like A.P.J Abdul Kalam is a brother and sister would go to bed, and this was a regular habit. Then let us see the next paragraph. One day when I was in the 5th standard at the Rameswaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. So one incident I will tell. This incident I will tell about the difference that is shown by the new teacher related to the religion. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramananda Sastri, who wore the sacred thread. So when he was in the Rameswaram Elementary School, the primary school, at a time he always used to sit just beside Ramananda Sastri, who was the son of the priest. So he could be marked as a Muslim because he always wore the cap. Then what happened? Let us see. He always sat on the front row next to the son of the priest, that is Ramananda Sastri. Let us continue. The new teacher could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. So the teacher was a narrow-minded teacher. He was a very much narrow-minded teacher, and he could not digest. Stomach means digest. He could not digest what? Digest the particular thing. What is that? The sitting of a son of the priest with a Muslim boy. In accordance with our social ranking, as a new teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. Now this teacher was teaching the student or telling the student about the social ranking of the people, and in the social ranking the Muslim come to the last maybe, and therefore he was asked to go to the last part of the bench to sit, not in the first row with a son of the priest. I felt very sad, and so did Ramananda Sastri. He looked utterly downcast as I shifted to my seat into the last row, the image of him weeping, when I shifted to the last row, left a lasting impression on me. So when the teacher compelled A.P.J Abdul Kalam or forced A.P.J Abdul Kalam to leave the front row and go to the last row, at that time the particular image of the weeping of Ramadan Sastri, because of his disappointment on the act of the teacher, left a very indelible mark into the mind of A.P.J Abdul Kalam in the years to come, or in the latter part of his life. Then let us continue. Next part. After school, we went home and told our respective parents about the incident. So this incident was not merely incident, this was an accident on the part of the teacher. Lakshmana Sastri summoned the teacher. Lakshmana Sastri, the father of Ramanathan Sastri. Summoned means called, C-A-L-L in the present tense. Past tense it will be called. Called the teacher, and in our presence told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of the innocent children. So this is a good lesson that is taught by Lakshmana Sastri, the priest of Rameswaram temple, to the new teacher who was trying to bring difference between different religious group or different people living in the society in a harmonious manner. So he called the teacher, and then he threatened him. He threatened him and told him that he should not spread this poison of the social inequality. Social inequality means in the society some will be big, some will be small, okay, some will be having great ranking, other will not having any rank. So in the society there is no rank among the people. All the people are same in their status. All are human beings. All are brothers and sisters. There should not be any social differences. And that the teacher was also spreading the communal intolerance. The people are living in communal harmony, and the harmony was disturbed, and intolerance was supported by the teacher, and in this way the mind of the children were poisoned by the teacher. Therefore this teacher was openly blamed. He bluntly asked the teacher to either apologize or quit the school and the island. Bluntly means openly. He openly asked the teacher. So he gave two options. One, he should apologize, means he will ask sorry for what happened, or he will be quitting the school as well as the island. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction Lakshmana Sastri conveyed ultimately reformed this young teacher. So this particular preaching of the priest had a great impact on the new teacher, and later he regretted. Okay, he regretted means he repented. He repented on his behavior. He repented on his behavior, that he was actually spreading the wrong message into the society, and he was not supposed to do it. He felt a very shame. Okay, he felt very shy about it. And towards the end, so this new teacher was reformed by the preaching or the suggestion made by Ramanathan Sastri. Ramanathan Sastri's father, that is Lakshmana Sastri. Then let us continue. Let us see here next part. I always sat in the front row next to Ramanathan Sastri. So from that day again, what happened? So the change occurred, and he was occupying the front seat as usual. Let us see paragraph number 8. On the whole, the small society of Ramaswaram was very rigid in terms of the segregation of different social groups. Let us see the difference of the religion. On the whole, the small society of Rameswaram was a very rigid, means very strict, 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 very firm or strong, in terms of the segregation, in terms of the difference of a different social group. So if we observe the society of Rameswaram, then we will see that the society, in the society there was some firm or very strict difference in the social group. However, my science teacher Shiva Subramania Iyer, though an orthodox Brahmin with a very conservative wife, was something of a rebel. Do you know what is rebel? Rebel is a person who actually revolt. Means he is an exception. He revolt against the tradition. So we are talking about the religious group in the society. The main religious group in Indian society is Hinduism and Islam. So there is a tight or firm wall between these two. But there are exceptional people and the teachers, and this exceptional teacher is Shiva Subramaniam Iyer, even though he was from Orthodox Brahmin family and his wife was very conservative. The look was very much orthodox. The teacher Shiva Subramania Iyer was a rebel, or he was an exception to this rule. He did his best to break the social barriers so that the people from various backgrounds could mingle easily. So in the society, if we forget about the social barriers or social impediments, impediments. There are a lot of barriers in the society, and one barrier is caused by the religion. And if we forget about the religious barriers, if we forget about the religious background, then we can mingle easily and we can live in a harmonious, in a very peaceful manner. He used to spend the hours with me and would say, Kalam, I wanted you to develop so that you are on par with the highly educated people of big cities. Now see, this motivation and this inspiration did a lot of work on the mind of Kalam, and this inspiration given by the teacher that you should develop, you should study hard and come equal with the highly educated people, then people will respect you. And this sort of inspiration really worked into the life of A.P.J Abdul Kalam. Then let us continue. Let us see the next paragraph. One day he invited me to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine. in her ritually pure kitchen. Ritually pure kitchen. Ritually pure kitchen. One day something very horrified, very fearful happened. Very fearful. What is so fearful? So the incident of the invitation given by the teacher, the science teacher to A.P.J Abdul Kalam. So who was invited by the teacher to dine with him in his kitchen. The wife of the teacher was so horrified or very much surprised. She refused to serve me in her kitchen. Shiva Subramania Iyer was not perturbed, nor did he get angry with his wife, but instead served me with the food. Now the teacher was a good example for A.P.J Abdul Kalam. So when he was invited to dine, then the wife, who was a very much orthodox, was unwilling or reluctant to serve because he was so horrified with the idea of serving a Muslim boy in her own kitchen. But the teacher Subramaniam Iyer was not at all angry at the wife, and he served the food by himself to A.P.J Abdul Kalam and dined together or ate together. Let us see what follows. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. I wondered whether she had observed any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. So when the teacher of A.P.J Abdul Kalam and A.P.J was taking to the meal together, then the wife of the teacher Subramaniam was watching them from behind the kitchen door. And A.P.J imagined whether she was observing or finding out any differences in the way of the eating and drinking and cleaning the floor after the meal. When I was leaving his house, Subramania Iyer invited me to join him for dinner again the next weekend. So when after the food was over, after dining was over, then the teacher Subramania Iyer, who was the last-hearted teacher, invited A.P.J Abdul Kalam again in the next weekend, means next Saturday. Observing my hesitation, he told me not to get upset, saying, once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted. So the teacher, you see, he is an example to be followed by each and every Indian, particularly at this critical juncture, critical time. So when he was invited for the second time, then it was seen that A.P.J Abdul Kalam was upset. He was a little nervous. He was hesitating. Then the teacher Subramania Iyer told him, particularly A.P.J Abdul Kalam, that if you have decided to change this system, if you have decided to melt the barrier between man and man, then such a problem will have to be confronted initially. When I visited his house the next week, Shiva Subramaniam Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. Therefore, this one also is another success story, And this is all because of the shaping influence of the teacher, shaping influence of Subramaniam Iyer, that the wife was changed or modified. And when into the next weekend, A.P.J Abdul Kalam went there to have the dinner, then it was observed that Subramanian's wife herself took A.P.J Abdul Kalam inside the kitchen and served him the food with her own hands. Then let us continue. Here we go. Then the Second World War was over and the India's freedom was imminent. Imminent means very near. Very near. So World War was over. Second World War was over at what time? It was in 1945. After 1945, as it was promised earlier, India was to be given freedom by the Britishers. Therefore, after the Second World War, India's freedom was very near. Means India is going to get the freedom very soon. Indians will build their own India, declared Gandhiji. So it was decided and declared by Mahatma Gandhi that the country will be shaped by the countrymen. India will be shaped by the Indians, and the foreigners will have to go. The foreigners will have to depart. The whole country was filled with an unprecedented optimism. Unprecedented optimism. Optimism means hope. Hope. Unprecedented means that never happened earlier. That never happened earlier. So when the whole country was filled with the historic type of hope, when the Britishers declared that the India was going to be given freedom, I asked my father for permission to leave Rameshwaram and study at the district headquarters in Ramanathapuram. So at that time, when there was a hope, there was optimism in the mind of the Indian people. At that time, he passed his class 10 exam, and then for his higher education, he is going to the district headquarters, that is named Ramanathapuram. So he is going there for his study there, and he took the permission of the parents to join the college. When India was expecting freedom, India was very happy to get the freedom. Then let us see the next. Let us see this line. So this is the particular scenery when Subramanian Iyer's wife took A.P.J Abdul Kalam inside the kitchen and served the food. And finally the teacher told me as if thinking aloud, Abul, I know you have to go away to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest? He quoted Khalil Gibral to my hesitant mother. So Khalil Gibral was a very famous Persian poet. And in his writing, a lot of philosophical thinking are found. And some of the quote of Khalil Gibran was quoted by the father. So the father was giving the example of the seagull. So the seagull, does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest? So seagull actually live just by the side of the sea. When the small seagull, when they start flying first, and after that what they do for their living, for their livelihood, they go to the far end of the sea in search of the food. So in the similar manner, A.P.J Abdul Kalam, when he was asking to go to the district headquarters of Rameswaram, then the father quoted that lines of Khalil Gibran and giving the permission. When the mother was little hesitant, your children are not your children, they are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. So these lines are from Khalil Gibran. So what is said that? Khalil Gibran is of the opinion to that your children are not the children of you. They are whose children? They are the children of life's longing for itself. Life's longing. Longing means Longing. Longing means great desire. Or yearning. Yearning. Great yearning of life. So your son, your daughter, your sons and your daughters are not yours. They are symbolically the son and daughter of the desire or yearning for themselves. They come through you. Of course, they come through some mother or father, but not from you. Means their thinking, their feelings may be different. Their appearance may be alike, but their thinking, their attributes, their quality may be different. You may give them your love, but not your thought. So beautiful lines you see. You may give your children the love. Love you may give. But you cannot impose thought on the children, for they have their own thought. The children have their own thought, and you cannot impose the thought on the children. So with these great lines from Khalil Gibran, so this lesson, My Childhood, which is an extract from A.P.J Abdul Kalam's Wings of Fire, is over. So this is the end of the lesson, my dear children. I suppose you understood the lesson, and you will do the textual questions, the grammar, and also the extract question, means the scene passes for your exercise and better comprehension and application of your knowledge. With this, let us conclude. We will meet you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Have a good day.
Invisible.